What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozek. This will be work in progress number 7 on the quarter scale Aquaman. So yesterday was number 6. I was having hard times. For some reason, I'm having a hard time rendering the video. I've got like 25 clips, and it's not rendering 100%. So I tried 3 times yesterday. So I need to go through and see what's going on with that, why it's not rendering. But in the meantime, I'm going to paint, working with the Leviathan. So today's goal. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Keep getting these frogs. Today's goal is really get the mouth painted and see how long that takes. So the cool thing about this is I can do whatever I want because this is a fake, it's a fantastical creature. So I did do a Google search and picked out a couple images I like. And so I picked out this one because I really like the mouth on it. I think I may go on the inside really deep reds with purples. I really like for the overall color scheme, I kind of like this. Mostly blues with a gray underbelly. Now, if you look at the production paint, let me pull up a picture of that real quick if I can find one. There aren't any really good photos of this. Like whoever's gotten it hasn't. No one's posted a lot of photos of it for some reason. I need to do a quick search on. Let me look in the group. Oh, I don't want to do that. I won't get in trouble. I don't want to show the group. I will get in trouble for that. Here's a photo from. This is from the Mr. X's. So the production paint, they did like a gold underbelly with blues and greens on top. I'm not a fan of the gold underbelly. I think it matches his torso too much. And the greens are okay. Again, it kind of matches him a little too much, I think. So I think I'm gonna do. I like the blues. The blues make sense. The mouth I think is too similar to the shark, so I'm going to go deeper reds. So I got to get the mouth painted first, and then I can work on the rest. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I think, turn on my spray booth real quick. Be right back. Okay, I think what I'm first going to do is I'm going to put down a layer of purple. And I got this GarageKits.us purple here. Put my apron on so I'm going to paint all over myself. Let that build up for a second. So yeah, I think we start off with a purple base and then go from there. Again, in that very first video I worked on, oh actually you know what, before I do anything I have to go get this a bath. I forgot, I still have petroleum jelly on the tongue and inside the mouth. So let me go give this a bath and I'll come back. Alright, so I gave this a good scrubbing with, I washed it twice with the dishwashing soap and my scrub brush. And in further inspection, there's a few little things I still need to kind of tidy up a little bit that I'm not real happy with. One thing is that while I was washing this, I bumped this little spike and it broke off. Luckily, I still have the piece. I need to glue that back on and fix that. But more so, just some little things in the sculpt I'm not happy with. I'm just going to do a quick little cleanup on some of these things, just to kind of help me get a better finish. Like for instance, right here, there's like a, I don't know, there's like a glob of resin or something. I'm not sure what that's from the casting. So I'm just going to sand that down, and then let's hit this with a little bit of primer before I paint. Pretty quick little thing. I don't know what that is. It's a little glob of resin from something. I'd be real curious to see the mold for something like this in the 3D print. Like on the base, did they print that all in one piece? I'm guessing they probably didn't. They printed multiple pieces, put it together, fixed all the seams and everything, and then casted it. So I'm just sand this guy down a little bit. Yeah, so my goal today is to basically get the mouth done, and I actually might do the eyes too, and silly putty those when I do the rest. Okay, so that's pretty good. That was with 240, and I'm just going to go in with some 600 and do a little more sanding on it. That way, when I do primer, you won't see any of the sanding scratches. 240 is a little too coarse for primer then paint. You need to get that at a higher grit, so I'm just going to hit that with some 600. It's like that. What else did I see when I was washing this? There's some stuff here in the paint. I'm not sure what that is. Is it on this side? No. So there's like some, not sure what it is. There's something in the primer coat here. Right here. Let's see if I can sand some of this out. I didn't see this when I did the initial prep work. When I was doing the initial prep work, I wasn't looking for things like this. I was just looking to get things kind of magnetized and stuff. Okay, so that's actually in the resin. I thought maybe it was... Okay, so that's part of the sculpt. So I'm just going to leave that alone. What else? I'll glue that back on and sand it here at the end. Yeah, just some little things that are kind of bugging me. Nothing major. So when I'm done with this, I'll blow it off and I'll give it a coat of Krylon primer and then let it sit for 15-20 minutes, dry up, and then we'll throw some paint on. Yeah, just some surface imperfections that are kind of bugging me here and there. Stuff that you probably wouldn't notice by the time I'm done, but if I see it now, I'm just going to take care of it. It's not that big of a deal. It's been 10-15 minutes. Cleaning some of this up, smoothing some things out. Again, I got a little... There's like little drops of resin on the surface here and there. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what that's about. This will be done mostly metallics. Yeah, so we'll give them a real cool shiny sheen look. I think that's about it. Just those few little things that I saw when I was washing this thing. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to glue that tip back on, sand it smooth, and then I'll throw a coat of Krylon primer on it, and we'll let that dry for 15-20 minutes, then we'll come back and start throwing some paint on it. Alright, so I fixed those little areas, hit it with some Krylon matte, and now I've got it mounted on my little stand that I've been using. So the way I got this mounted is, took a little thinking on how to do this, because I want to be able to set it up like this and not like leaning on the head while paint dries, but I needed to get behind here to paint these parts. So I ripped a 2x4 in half, double stacked it, because if I put it too close and it interfered with me getting to paint in there. So now I've got clearance all the way around the back side here, and I've just got it clamped to the bottom of this so that when I want to paint like inside the mouth, I can just unclamp it, make sure I'm holding on to it, and now I can pretty easily maneuver it. And then also I double stacked the 2x4 so that when I lay it down, I can put it down flat like this, and these horns, or whatever these are called, don't touch the table surface, so those won't break when I set this down. Just gotta be real careful, because it is a little wobbly left to right, but as long as I'm careful, it'll be fine. So for right now, I don't need the stand. I don't need the clamps. I'm going to put those to the side. Right now we're just working on the inside of the mouth, and I need to be able to maneuver this to get up inside there. So like I said, I'm going to start off with purples, and again, we're just play with colors. I'm going to go on the deeper side of red with some nice highlights. So this is GarageKits.us purple. And then if you watch my Venom video, I'll probably do some washes, and it's going to be just a lot of layers as usual. So again, we're just going to kind of go in here and spray this on. It's going to be hard to get in all the nooks and crannies, so some of the stuff you won't be able to see me do. Come out to this part here. This purple cover is real nice. Got a lot more coverage than most of his Jesse's paints. Make sure to get all the gums. I'm so glad. Can I tell you how glad that this head comes off of the body, because this would be an absolute nightmare to try to paint with it on the body. I don't even know how I would do it. I mean, I would break stuff left and right trying to maneuver it, and then mounting it on something and trying to get paint everywhere I need paint would be really hard to do. So thank God the head wasn't glued on well, or wasn't glued on at all. I don't know. Okay, so once I'm done with the purple, I'll let it dry for a little bit, and then I'll go seal it. Again, I got to maneuver this quite a bit to get paint to all the little nooks and crannies. Some of it, I'll just have to get in there when I do the wash and hand paint. Because, like, to get paint up underneath the gums here, like, I physically can't get the airbrush in there at the right angle. But I can get most of it. Luckily, that's a part you're not going to see. Like, I can't even see it now. So when it's on the statue, you're definitely not going to be able to see it. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to try to paint it. It just means that if I don't get a great looking result up behind the gums on top, it's not the end of the world, because you're never going to see it. No matter how hard you try to look and find it, you'll never see it. So, okay, so that looks good. And we're going to do the tongue too. Get some more Q-tips. I'm out of Q-tips. At least I have Q-tips up here. I like it. They got this little spot right here on the tongue, like where I guess the fire would come out of, or poison or something. It's like a, I don't know, it's like a tube. Kind of cool. Some water right there. I need to go get some Q-tips. I go through Q-tips like crazy. There's some water that I missed before I put primer on. Now it's doing funky things here. So I just need to wipe it up and get rid of it. There we go. Alright, so this is all base coat in this purple. We're going to let this dry. I've got quite a bit of paint on here. I'm going to let this dry for a while. I'm going to go seal it. And then we'll do one of a couple washes I have in mind. And then we'll go for there. So I'll come back. Okay, so I went and sealed this with Krylon Flat. I've mixed up kind of like a plum color in here, dark plum. So I mixed in some of this violet, some dark scarlet red, and a little bit of black. And this is going to be where we're going to start introducing some red tones in here. It's still on the purple spectrum, but it's got some red in there. And we're going to see what this does. Again, this is what we do. We just play with colors and see what we get. So I put just a little bit of water in there. Can't put too much because, again, these are craft paints, and the surface tension will keep it from doing what I want to do. So we'll work on the tongue here first. So I just get a nice big brush. I'm going to put this on. I call it a wash. A wash is actually would be much thinner. I'm going to put this on like this. And I'm going to just get one of my rags. I'm going to kind of blot this off. I don't want to take it all off. I just want to so it's getting into some little, it's hard to see with it shiny like this. That's actually looking pretty good. Let that dry. Do the same thing here in the mouth. I have to do a lot of this in my lap, so let me get the camera repositioned. There we go, higher. Try that. This will be a little more tricky because I got these teeth, and the teeth are really sharp. I'm going to keep poking myself on them. Again, this doesn't have to be neat. Just slop it in there. Just want to kind of stain it a little bit and start bringing out some of these details. Once this dries, I'll seal it again. And then I'll probably start dry brushing reds on. I basically want red with a purple kind of undertone. That's kind of what I'm going for. It's really hard to get up behind the teeth here. Should get up in the gum line really well. Okay. It's gonna be hard to get in the mouth. If I can do this without breaking any teeth, I'm doing pretty good, I think. Just gonna kind of shove it up in there and do what I can do. Again, when we do this, we take most of this off. It's just staining it and kind of getting down in some of the recesses and stuff. Try to get some off the teeth as much as possible. Just avoid paint buildup on the teeth is always good. Zoom out a little bit. There, this is actually looking pretty good. I'm not wiping because I don't want to. I don't mind this. If I wiped it off, it would take it off completely on the high spots. But I don't want. I want to stain that a little bit too, just so it blends in a little bit. That's why I'm dabbing. Okay. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna let this dry. And I'm going to seal it, and then I'm going to start dry brushing some reds on there to bring out these details. But that's a nice kind of undertone for the dry brushing. This actually comes all the way back here. I'm going to make sure I get that corner a little bit. Just like that. All right. So it's going to take a little while to dry, got all the paint on there, but once we do that, once it's sealed, I'll come back and we'll start dry brushing. Alright, so the paint's dried, I sealed it again, hit it with the hair dryer. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take some of this dark scarlet right here. I'm just going to kind of take my brush, I'm going to just kind of stipple it on. I'm not going to put it on too opaque. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to seal it again, and then I'll do just some dry brushing. I want to get a little more red undertone on top of this purple before I started adding highlights. Like this. And that's pretty much what I want this to look like. So I take a good portion of it off and then go back and start dabbing. So now I got this kind of dark purpley red with some different tonal variations in there. That's looking pretty good. Oops. And this will dry really quick because I'm putting it on pretty light. Alright, so that's kind of what we got going now on the tongue. Do the same thing inside. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing inside of the mouth. We'll come back and do some dry brushing after I seal it. Alrighty, so I went and sealed the mouth and the tongue. The mouth is still drying, but the tongue is dry enough to do the next step. So I'm going to dry brush on some of this Anita's craft paint. This is called True Red. We're going to start off with this, and then it's a kind of a bright red, but because we have such a dark base, it's going to take a few rounds of dry brushing to get this to kind of where I want. But I want I wanted this overall a darker tone, so you may not be able to see anything at first on this. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to add some white. To it and do it again. But I'm not doing it. I'm not adding white right now because I want to build it up gradually. So you're probably not seeing anything right now. And with it being these craft paints, it's pretty thin. I'm actually seeing a nice little change in color. And when I've been sealing these, I've been putting on the Krylon mat pretty wet because I don't want it to dry with the texture. I want it to dry pretty smooth. And I've said this before, the Krylon mat, you can get different finishes depending on how wet you put it on. If you put it on real wet, you get kind of a semi-gloss, which is what I got here. Which means when I dry brush, it's going to just pick up details in the sculpt and not the texture of the Krylon. If you put it on too dry, then it gets on kind of speckly. Not speckly, but it goes on really dry. And then you get a texture in the paint, and then when you dry brush, you're picking up the details in the texture of the paint and not the sculpt. So I put it on really wet. so it'll dry kind of this semi-gloss. And you're like, why don't you just use like a satin finish? Well, satin takes longer to dry. The flat dries pretty damn quick, like within a few minutes. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay. Sorry, I was reading a text. So yeah, so I'm doing that. The mouth is still drying. As you can still see, it's still kind of wet. So once that's dry, I'll do the same thing to the mouth. And I'll seal it again, and then we'll do the next level of dry brushing. Alright, so the next step is I took some of that true red, and I'm mixing up a slightly lighter color. This is actually a little too pink. I'm going to add some more red to it. Go up like one shade, maybe one or two shades. Right about there. Again, we're going to take most of it off. And we're going to start adding another highlight. And as I get brighter and brighter, I'm a little more selective. I start using more of the flat part of my brush and not so much the bristles. So just like that, just keep building up the highlights. And then I may go back in with an airbrush. The tongue's looking really good. Okay, looking pretty good. And I got the mouth here. Do the same thing in the mouth. This is hard to do on camera because I have to really have this in my lap and move it around a little bit, but we'll try to do a little bit. So when I do the outside, like the outside of the gums, I just go from the top down, just like this. Just so I hit the top parts. Same thing on the side of the mouth here. And then on the top side of the gums, I go from the bottom up. And then I won't seal it this next time, I'll just keep building up. I'll help kind of blend it in. And now we're starting to look like something. Like that. And then on the inside, again, kind of go from the top down. So I'm going to do the rest of this, and then we'll come back and do the next color. Okay, so now I'm mixed up. I added more white to that. I mixed up this kind of bright color here. And this might be the last a little bit of dry brushing idea. We'll see. So this is pretty bright pink. Again, just the flat part of my brush. The forks and the tongue are going to make pretty bright. Pretty good. Okay. Showing off the detail real nice. I'll do the same thing on the mouth, and then I'll come back. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to go one more level, almost to pure white. One more step, because I think I'm going to come in here and do some airbrushing with some clear reds on top of this. Actually, let's just go pure white. Let's see what that does. Again, I'm just use a flat part of my brush. Real light with this. And then the tips, the forks and the tongue, I'm going to do pretty bright. That. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go over this with some clear red. And some shading, especially on the tongue. So that's looking pretty good. And then on the mouth, with this color, just the white, I'm going to put very little on my brush, almost like nothing. I'm going to come in here and just hit the tops of the gums a little bit. And just the flat part of the brush, just so I hit the tops of everything that I want to do. Looking pretty good. I think I'm going to leave the top and the bottom of the mouth alone from now and just hit the gums on the inside a little bit. We're almost done with the gums and stuff. It's looking pretty good. Kind of got that purplish red color that I wanted. I wanted to stay away from just red. I wanted a little darker tones in his mouth. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Digging it. Okay, so I think we can go seal this now. I haven't sealed it in the past few steps. I've just been going on top of what I've been doing. But now I want to seal this. I'll go back in with some just a little too much pink on that. So I'm going to go in here with an airbrush and add a little bit to the shadows along the gum line and on the tongue. Actually, I could probably do that without sealing. Let's try it. Just going back in with some straight white here on top of the gums. I want to bring this up a little bit brighter than I need because I do want to go over this a little bit with some transparent red. So it's going to knock it down. So I'm bringing it up a little bit brighter than I actually need. But I got to compensate for putting on the next color. So that's why I'm bringing it up pretty bright. On the highlights. I'm going to shift the color a little bit more to the red. I'm going to leave the tops and bottom of the mouth on the inside alone. I'm not going to add any more highlights to those. It's got nice detail. And it's darker, which I want. I do want to highlight these gums a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to do is, let me rinse out my brush. Let me go turn on my air compressor, and I'll be back. Okay, so now what I'm taking some of this transparent Scar Red and just lightly misting it on the tongue first. That. I'm just going to mist it on until I kind of get the look I want. When I get the teeth done, that's when this is really going to pop. So you're probably wondering, why don't you just dry brush with this color? Well, there's a difference between a reflective color and a translucent color. So a reflective color would be like when you paint something and the light is reflecting off of that. And when you do a transparent color, when light reflects through something, it gives a different look. So when you do like what I'm doing here, where you kind of build up really, really bright and then tone it back down with the transparent, you get more depth in your color. This doesn't look so flat as opposed to just dry brushing. So I think the tongue is pretty much there. I'm going to go in with some shadowing in a little bit and darken some of the shadows. I'm going to do the same thing here in the mouth. And knock it back a little bit. That's about it. The inside. Okay, like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with, I've got some transparent black red. Now this has got some purple in it, which is perfect. And I'm going to come in here real lightly. And just kind of bring out some of these shadows again. But it's just gonna, again, it's just kind of shifting the color. And since this is a transparent color, any little highlighting that I did, you'll be able to see a little bit underneath this. I'm getting dry tip again. The air pressure may be a little high right now. I may knock it down a little bit. I'm going to miss this on a little bit down here where the tongue kind of curls down across the whole thing. Got some shading right here. You probably won't see it, but we're going to do it anyway. Cool. So I think the tongue is pretty much done. Bring my exposure down just a little bit. Yeah, once I flat coat this is going to look good. So again, I got that kind of purpley tone I wanted to go inside the mouth. Just trying to stay away from bright red. I wanted to do something a little different. Alright, so now I'm going to come up in here on the mouth. And if I can get some paint to come out, we're going to deepen some of the shadows. Mainly like along the gum line. And try to get in the mouth a little bit. Again, it's hard to get the paint to go exactly where you want in the mouth with an airbrush. Trying to hit the shadows. Get a little overspray on the other parts, it's okay. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm going to come in on the side of the mouth here and hit these little areas a little bit. Okay, let's check it out. That side's looking pretty good. I think I need to hit this side a little bit more with the scar red. Just compared to the other side, I'm gonna again, we're just shifting the color a little bit. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. The tongue. I'm going to hit that a little bit more with the scar red. This wall gets sealed now because we're going to move on to the teeth. So I'm really happy with how this is looking. It's hard to tell right now because it's all shiny, but once I seal it and it dries down, it'll look really good. So I'm going to do that, we'll seal it, and then we'll come back. I'm going to base coat the teeth. I won't videotape that. Again, I'll base coat it with the Vallejo Elfic Flesh. It's a kind of nice off-white. And then we'll go in and do the oils like I did on the other teeth for the shark and the whale. So once I'm ready to do the oils, I'll come back and we'll do that. Okay, so the teeth have been sealed and it's actually dried overnight. I'm going in with the oils now. So I got a bunch of stuff mixed up on my palette here. So I'm doing first is I'm going to go in and blend the gums, like I did on the previous one. So in there I've got, this is Abtelung 502 oils. I've got, it looks pink on the outside, but it's actually magenta with a little bit of, this is coagulated blood, and just a hint of, what is this? Primer red. So that's what I've got going on my palette right here. I'm sure we can see that. So this little part of my palette right here. So again, this is not that difficult. This part, it's just time consuming. So just take just a very teeny tiny, and right now I'm just doing the outside of the teeth, then I'll flip it over and do the inside. But as on the other teeth, I take just the tiniest amount of oil and put it right in the gum line. That's probably too much. And then I take a flat brush, just a clean flat brush, and I'm just going to dab it in there. And this is going to hide, doing this hides the, kind of like the harsh paint line from the white I put on earlier. And then we're just going to drag it down, just like this. I'm going to let it fade into white, to that cream color. So I'm going to do this to all the teeth on the front side and the back side. And then I think I may go in with some gray and blend that down. And then the final step will be to add some dry brushing highlights. So it's going to be a few more steps on these teeth. Just I wanted to look, I don't know, you know, this is a Leviathan, this is a fictional character, so I'm just kind of playing with it. So I've got some little paint mix-ups here between the teeth, so I can just use my oils to kind of tidy that up. Again, just take it, I mean, it takes very little of this, very high pigment content. Just like that. Again, take my soft flat brush, just kind of dab it, and then just draw it down. Just like that. And then if I got that little bit in the between the teeth where it's a little messed up, I can add a little more oil. So like right here, it's kind of, so I can keep working these until I get the look I want. But I think it's going to be like a 3 or 4 step process for the teeth. So I'm going to do this step, and then I'll seal it. We'll come back and do the next step. Okay, so I went around and did that red on everything. Now what I'm doing, it's in frame here to focus. I'm taking a Q-tip because I got it up a little too high on the teeth. I'm going to go back and dry brush and blend it in. Just taking a Q-tip here and kind of pulling some of this back a little bit, blending it in a little more. It takes some of the cotton off. So, like right here, I'm just going to come in and lightly wipe some of this off. These will get re-highlighted towards the end when I do my dry brushing to bring out the details, but I'm just going to take a little bit of this oil off the cotton with a Q-tip. And if I, like right there, I took a little too much off, I can go back in with my soft brush and kind of position it. It's the great thing about the oils is that they remain workable for a very long time. I can even come, see, I took too much off. Come back in here and come back up. I think I'm gonna try this. I got just a clean flat brush. There's nothing on it. Come here and try this. It's a subtle difference, but I'm just trying to soften up a little bit. Again, I'm going to dry brush these at the end with an off-white to bring back the details, but this is just to get them to blend into the gums a little bit. Like, this is looking really good right there. Not sure if you can see what I'm doing. Just want a really soft transition. I take the oil down onto the gums a little bit just to blend it in a little bit. That's looking good. I think what I'm going to do is, once I'm done with this and I'm happy with everything, I'm going to seal it, and then I'm going to go in with this a slightly darker color right at the root of the tooth. I'll probably add just a little bit of black to that red and just go right along the gum line. Add another little bit of shading to it, and then after that I'll come back and work on whitening them up a little bit. We'll dry brush from the top down. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Right there, I got a little too much on the top. Just wipe it off. A soft Q-tip. Like that. Alright. Alright. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go seal this and then let it dry for a little bit, and then we'll do the next step. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm going back and adding a little bit more of a shadow right along the gum line. So I mixed up it looks black, but it's a super dark red, my palette. And I'm taking just the tiniest amount of paint and putting it right along the gum line, like that, and just pulling it down just a little bit. My brush is pretty much dry, and then if I want to blend it a little more, I can just take this, again the soft one, and just come in here and bring it down a little bit. A little too much paint there. I can just dab it too to soften the transition, just like that. I lost a little bit of my shadow when I went and did the red the first time, so I'm just going kind of back and adding it in again. Just like that. It's a really subtle step, but it makes a big difference. It's like that. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see the difference there. I'm going to do that to all these teeth, and then I'm going to seal it again, and then we'll dry brush. Alright, last step on the teeth. Man, these things taking forever. So I've mixed up a off-white in my oils over here. Almost pure white, just a little bit of yellow in it. And I'm going in and just adding a highlight. So I get a little bit on my brush. I take just about all of it off. And I come in here and just kind of dry brushing this on. Just the very tips of the teeth. And then blending it back up. So I still have some of that original kind of bone color that I put on when I base coated. And this is all transitioning up into the rid of the gums and everything. So my brush is pretty dry. There's not much paint on here at all. And I've got a clean brush here, nothing on it. If I want to, again, blend it back in and soften it up a little bit. So I'm not sure if you can tell the difference between this tooth and the others, but it's just got a little slight highlight on it. Just like that. Put it on, blend it back, soften up transitions. And that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to finish this up and then we'll seal it, and then I think the mouth is done. So when I finish it up, I'll come back and show you what it looks like after we get all the highlighting done. Okay, so here's the mouth done finally after many hours. Looks good. So I'm going to let this dry. I think I'm going to do I may work on the eyes next because I want to airbrush the majority of it. I've got some colors I'm looking at, maybe doing like orange eyes on them. I don't know, so they're kind of squinty. So yeah, I'm going to think about that for a little bit, and then when I find a reference I like, I'll come back and work on the eyes, and that way I can silly putty those, and then I'll work on doing the head, get the head kind of done, and then I'll match the body to the head. So I kind of want to get the portrait done and then work on the rest of the rest of the body, because that's going to be hard to do just because of the size and handling around. So we'll work on the eyes next. Alrighty, onto the eyes. So I think we're going to do like, I don't know, we're going to play around. I have to draw these eyes in, so we're going to see what we come up with. So I think what I want to do first is put down, I want these kind of metallic, so I'm going to put down a metallic silver. Let me turn my air compressor on. do a combination of airbrushing and hand painting. Oh, hold on. Not plugged in yet. Alright, sorry. Okay. So I'm going to put down some GarageKits.us silver. Put this in a spot where see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to be a lot of sealing between steps here. I started drawing an eye, but I decided I needed to do that part, the pupil later. Alright, so there's that. Well, at least I have like an iridescent look. We'll let that dry. I'm going to seal it and then come back. Okay, so I think I found the reference I want to use. I want to do something similar to this, kind of orange, sun-looking thing. So, even though base coat of this is silver, I'm actually gonna. I think I may take this off of the. I'll be able to maneuver this, but I don't want to break any of the freaking little things on the head. So, I'm trying to figure out the best way I can do this on camera, so you guys can see what I'm doing. Pad of some sort like this. I need to get this in a position where I can get to it. Okay, so what I think we're going to do is I need a lining brush right here. These are actually one of my favorite brushes to use, lining brushes right like this. And I don't know if I should paint the black first. I think I should do all the little lines first. So it's like yellows and oranges. Let's see what I got for that. I got some here. And probably some white to go on top. Let's see. What do I have? I do have watercolors. I haven't used these in a long time. These have all sorts of nice colors on them. So I may do that. Let's do watercolors. Well, I got orange, yellow, red, orange, maybe some red. I got vermilion. So I got yellow, scarlet, vermilion, red, orange. Don't know if I have any white watercolor. Couldn't run out. I can do that in acrylic. Alright. So I think I'm going to work dark to light. So I'm going to start off with scarlet red, I think. And I'm going to get a palette going here. Everything that's semi-clean? Probably not. Let's see. What I got? Oops, I stuck my finger in a bunch of paint. That was good. Wipe that off. Let's see. Here's a palette that's semi-clean. So I'm going to put some of this in here, scarlet red, with a little bit of water. Like just a drop maybe. And the great thing about these, if I mess up, I can literally just wipe it away with a Q-tip and some water. Okay. So I'm going to use my hand a lot to get the excess off. All right, let's go. Let's see what we come up with. So I'm going to draw a line right down the middle. And then one across. I'm going to try to establish a center point on the eye. I may just have to do this off camera because I need to get, probably need to get my Optivisor on. So right away I'm not happy with that. Okay, so I drew two lines to kind of get a center point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here and keep bisecting each area with a red line. I may have to get a different brush. This one may be a little too long. Let's see what I got. Just bought some brushes again. Let's try this guy. Okay, so like I don't like what I'm seeing there. I'm gonna wipe this off and start over. So I probably will end up just doing this off camera because I can't see what I'm doing, to be honest. So we'll try here. Yeah, I'm going to do this off camera. I'll come back. Okay, so after lots of back and forth and everything, I think I got that looking pretty good. Kind of got that starburst look. I just went ahead and gloss coated them. So now these have to dry for 24 hours. But I think they look pretty good. I've never, I don't hand paint eyes. I suck at it. But it's got the look I wanted to it. So gotta let this dry now before I can do anything else. And then the next step will be to mask off the eyes and the mouth, and then paint the head. And then that color will determine the rest of the color on the body. So we come back, we'll start painting the head, the rest of the head. All right, continuing on with the serpent. So I masked off the mouth, and I sprayed on a base coat of Vallejo. This is metallic. Hold on, I gotta look it up. It's called what is this? It's like gunmetal blue, or blue gunmetal. And I just thinned it with my Mr. Color thinner, sprayed it on, and this is what we got. And then I sealed it really well with Krylon's satin finish. This was actually done like a week ago. This is now new. I did this before New Year's, but haven't painted a whole lot this week. So now what I'm going to do is I want to kind of start working on some of these detail areas, and I'm going with this reference illustration I downloaded. Let me see if I can pull it up here 1 second. Where did it go? Not that one. So I'm going to do something like this. So now what I want to do, excuse me, is I want to go in here and kind of do some of this orangish yellowish color. What I don't want to do is like mask this all off and have like hard lines. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to I bought a bunch of craft paints, and there's going to be a lot of transparent colors and stuff going on here. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe lightly airbrush some silver on here. Got something right there on the paint. And then go over it with some clears. I'm also going to do some other tones on the face here, some greens and stuff. And for that, I think I might just do some dry brushing. Again, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here because I don't know. I've never painted a dragon, so I'm trying to think the best way to do this. So I also base coated the top or the back part of the serpent. So the part where all the fins have been base coated, it's behind me. The bottom's going to go a different color. So I think what I'm going to do, I masked off the eyes and the mouth, obviously. I think what I'm going to do, I got to think this through because how do I want to handle this? I think I may go in and airbrush on some gold, some Vallejo gold, and then go in with an airbrush with some clears. This is gonna be a fairly dark overall. I'm gonna turn my compressor. Okay. I found the paint that I sprayed. It's gunmetal blue. I had it in my spray booth, so that's why I couldn't find it. Because I sprayed this in the spray booth. So I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, just got to think out loud here. I think I'm going to, I got to get some thinner. I'm just kind of, my brain's out of whack right now. So I really like this kind of blue and orange, this blue and warm tone thing going on this reference. So I got bronze and I got gold. I could also do the liquid metal. Where do I got? Like there's a red gold. That might be nice. That might be a little too dark. So I'm going to go in and do some shading on this stuff. And maybe a little too dark. Okay, so I think we're going to go in with, my initial thought was to spray silver and then go in there with clear. But I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in here with this game colored gold and just fill in here. I'll probably have to unscrew this head from the back if I need to do that, so I can get access to the back of the head. I'm going to do that real quick. There we go. So that's off. I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. Sorry. Kind of out of whack today. Okay, so I finally got my paint to spray. So I just got some of this Vallejo Glorious Gold in my airbrush. And I'm just going to kind of paint in between these fins here. Make sure my hands are clean. And I got my air pressure pretty low. So I'm just going to kind of really easily kind of fill this in. I don't want to get a lot of this on this part. And I don't want to mask it because I want kind of smooth transitions. Okay, so just like that. So I'm going to do that on all these little fin areas. On this and the back. This will take me a little while because I'm just going to go on, just going slow. If I get a little overspray on the middle parts of the pics, we're going and we're going to do a bunch of shading too. So we're just trying to get all the base colors down first. And we're going clear blues and clear greens and clear yellows and oranges and stuff like that. So even it's gold right now, we're going to make it orange, this yellow, when we do the shading. And then here with this one too. Just going slow. And I may come back in with the brush and just kind of touch up a little bit on these kind of center parts of the webbing. But I'm pretty tight. So I got my air pressure down so low so I can get pretty darn close without getting too much overspray on those parts. I probably won't film doing the back part of this just because it's so big and unwieldy. It was really hard to handle it just to paint the top part of it. So I'll probably just record doing the head. There'll be a lot of the same colors and techniques. It's just easier to show this part. The only difference is that on the back part of the serpent, the underside will go a different color. This paint's pretty thin, so I'm just going slow, building it up slowly. I ended up having to thin this with an acrylic thinner. I used Mission Models thinner. That's what I had. I wasn't wanting to thin with the Mr. Color. Sometimes I usually use Mr. Color thinner to thin Vallejo paints, and it's weird because it works. Some colors it just doesn't want to work, and this is one of the colors that didn't want to work. So that's one with acrylic thinner. Tricky part will be back here. I may have to hand paint some of this. Okay, so I think you get the idea. I'm going to finish doing this on this and the back, and we'll come back. Okay, so I got the gold painted on the head and the back. Lesson learned: I should have done this part and then done the blue, because I'm going to have to go back and touch up the blue quite a bit. It's not the end of the world, just a little more work. So now what I'm doing is going with the airbrush, and I'm airbrushing on some Vallejo ink sepia tone over the gold. I'm just going to knock the gold back a little bit and get it kind of towards more of that tone I want. I'm also going to start doing some shading here, just darkening it around the edges, like that. Backed off quite a bit. Once I get all these kind of webbing areas the way I want, I'm going to go through and touch up the blue. I'm going to paint these little horns a different color towards the end. You can kind of see the effect I'm getting there. I did not seal it before I started doing these inks. I'm just going right on top. So I'm hitting the shadows pretty hard. And back up and just kind of blend it in a little bit. The blue should be an easy brush touch up. It's just around the edges, basically cutting it back in. looking pretty good. Let's see what that looks like compared to my reference. I think it's pretty damn close. Yeah, that's pretty close to my reference. Kind of that gold, brown shadow. So initially I thought it was going to be orange, but it's more this brownish gold, which I'm digging. So again, I'll show the head on camera, then I'll do the back off camera. And get pretty heavy back there, really deep shadow behind the head. After I get done with these kind of web parts, I'll seal it, and I'll touch up the blue, and then we'll start doing some color variations on the rest of the blue areas. Actually, I could seal this before or touch up the blue before I seal it. It's all acrylic. There's a chin. These things are nice because they're transparent, but they're not super. They spray more like a lacquer. I can put it on pretty wet. It's not gonna pool or run. Alright, so let's look at the front again. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna hit the shadows just a little bit more, give them a little more contrast. Not that pretty dark. place to hold it by, because I don't have it on the stand anymore. I actually think this is supposed to be blue right there. I'm not sure who that is. Rosie Marie Jones. Okay. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do on the back. It looks really good. And I'm going to touch up the blue. And then I'll seal it. And then I'll come back once I'm done touching up the blue. Okay, so I touched up the blue and sealed everything again with some satin. Now I'm going to come in here with some Ghost Tint Midnight Blue. I'm going to start adding some shading to the blue. And then we're going to see how that looks. It's almost black. Turn my air pressure down a little bit. I'm going to kind of go in here. Start adding some shading to this. Build up slowly. A little more tint in. I might take off the masking for the mouth so I can blend in the gum line. It's going to take a while to build this up. So I gotta put on a little bit at a time. It's super runny. It's getting there. Yeah, I think we're going to take off this. I'm reluctant to because I don't want to get anything on the teeth. I'll wait till the end to take this off because I really just hope the teeth took me forever, so I don't want to get any overspray on them. So I'll just blend them in later. I'll blend the gum line in a little bit at the very end like I did on the other animals. I can hit the underside of this lip area. Alright, so I'm going to do this and I'll come back when I'm done because it's going to take me a long time. Okay, so I got through the shading on the blue on the head. It's probably hard to see because it's really shiny right now, but when I seal it, it'll really pop. It's looking really good. Now it's actually looking like something. I was having a hard time. I started doing some dry brushing and it wasn't working, so I decided to go do the shading. So now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to hit the nose and some areas with some ghost tint green. This is going to be a fairly dark serpent compared to what they did on the factory paint. On the factory paint, they did kind of a green color to match Aquaman. I don't want to do that. I want him to stand out. So, and all the pictures I found of, or the pictures, I should say, illustrations, show these guys pretty dark and blue, which makes sense because they, be underneath the ocean. So I'm just going to come in here and layer on some green, which will make this more look like an aqua. In a couple areas. It's okay if it gets onto the blue a little bit, it can fade into it. This is just straight, I didn't thin it. I probably should have thinned it a little bit. I know it's really hard to see what the paint's doing right now because in the camera it's very shiny and reflective. And when things are shiny and reflective, it's hard to see what's going on with the paint. But the green's showing up pretty good in the camera, I think. Once I get this in where I want it, I'll go back and shade the green. And he's got this kind of other, kind of just going by, again, these things aren't real, so I'm going to do underneath the chin that color too, because this guy kind of got the same texture. Just this area. So we're going for blues and greens on this guy. And the kind of bronzish gold wet part as the accent color. And dry tip. Once I get all of this kind of where I want it, I'm pretty happy with it. Then I'm going to take the silly putty and masking tape off the mouth and work on blending in the gum line. Yeah, flawed. Some pretty significant dry tip with these guys going on. Oh, I got some retarder I could put in here. That would help. Put a couple drops of retarder in, which will slowly drying and hopefully help prevent dry tipping. short on the air pressure. It died. Okay. And then we got these kind of little they're not fangs, they're just part of the I'm going to do those with some green. I'm not sure if you guys can see anything I'm doing. Again, not masking this off, I'm just kind of freehanding it. And the colors kind of blend together on this part. And then I'm going to do the same thing on these. Now this part, I don't want to get green on the yellow, so I'm going to get a piece of silly putty. I don't want green on the yellow part. Actually, let me just, I don't know. Let me leave that and hit that with, just make the horns darker. Let's see. I think I may come in here and hit, again, just a couple areas with this green a little bit. Slightly. I don't want a lot of green on this guy, just little hints of it here and there. I mainly want it this blue color. Pretty good. I've not done the back part of the serpent with the shading yet. I'll do that after I get the head done. Almost match the head. Okay, so now we got a couple little accents of green in there. That's looking pretty good. Hit these tips very lightly. I'll do the same thing on the back. So I don't want to get green on the yellow. avoid it. Basically, where there's no scale pattern, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of green. Actually, I'm going to try to do those horns. I think they look good, a little bit green on them. Okay, nice and subtle. Okay, that's looking really good. Liking the green on the tips there. That's why I decided to do that. Just kind of adds a little accent of color. I do these little horns. I can do this without getting any paint on the yellow. I'm real careful I can do it. Yep, perfect. And we'll come back in here with the midnight blue again and shade the green. And then I think the head may be done. I'll do this. I thought about doing a bunch of dry brushing, but I just think that's going to be, I don't think it'll look right. Got a lot of nice tones going on. Get the back side of these guys. Dang it. Got a brush touch up there. You can hear my airbrush getting clogged up. Dry tip. Does it really quick with these ghost tints. This part of the head you really won't see once it's all together. Keep saying I'm happy with that. I keep going back. That's kind of what I do. This chin keeps getting rubbed off because I keep putting it down, so I'm going to have to seal this and let this dry. It's looking pretty good. Again, you probably can't see anything because it's so shiny and reflective. So I'm going to seal this and then I'll shade the green and then I'll take the masking off and blend the gum line. Okie dokie, so this is looking pretty badass, I think. I took the slate putty off the mouth just to see how we're looking, and this is looking really, really good. I'm going to go in, probably not with an airbrush, with some pastels and blend in this edge a little bit because it's just a hard line right now. I'm going to blend that in. Maybe I'll use some of the gum paint color and just kind of stipple that line there. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shade this green a little bit. Let's add some shadows. Similar to what I did on the blue. Give some shape. I did the back, and I shaded the back, the spine of the dragon. It's looking really good. I'm going to go in and add a couple green accents for that. And we're looking really sharp. I thought about going in with an airbrush to do the gum line, but I'm too scared I'll get overspray on the teeth, and the teeth took me like a day alone, a full day just to do the teeth, so I do not want to screw those up. See, there's some silly putty I got to take off. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom of the neck here. We're going to add some shadow. You're not going to really see this, but I'm going to do it anyway. You can see it's pretty loose. It's just an organic shape, so I'm just kind of hitting here and there. That sound was my airbrush fogging up. I didn't get this earlier. The last time I sealed it with wax. I just wanted it to dry faster. So I'll probably end up sealing this in a satin, just so the metallics pop a little more. Make the shading not a little harder to see, but okay, that's looking pretty badass. Okay, just for the hell of it, I'm gonna see if I can do this with an airbrush. I really want to try it. Let's see. I'm going to turn my air pressure down. Actually, I'm going to try this off camera and come back because I need to get real close. Okay, so I sealed this with a satin finish. Sorry about the shaky camera. Went ahead and remounted it back on my stand here. It's looking really sharp. So I think I'm going to leave it as satin. I thought about me knocking the sheen down a little bit, but I like it. It's a nice departure from all the other creatures. And the shading looks really good in person, so that's all that matters. So, and I have the tongue over to the side there. So I went in with the airbrush, and I just hit the corners of the gums with that midnight blue pretty hard, almost to where it was black. And then on the sides here, I hit it also, darkened this area a little bit and hit the shadows a little bit. But now this looks really, really, really good. So now I'm going to take the sleep putty out the eyes and see how those look. And then we'll see. I'll probably have to do some brush touch-ups along the edges. the eyes, just to be expected, because they'll be a little, probably a little edge I gotta deal with. The one thing I don't like about silly putty is when I leave it on real long, sometimes the paint will peel away a little bit. And I gotta go in and touch it up. Okay. So these were gloss coated with the automotive clear days ago. That's a really nice contrast against that blue. So I am going to go in and just do a little thin line of black between the eyeball and the scales. I'll just give it a little more delineation and just clean up this edge a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's check out this one. There's a lot of paint on top of that silly putty. That's why I tend to like to use tape. 'Cause I can, I don't know. A lot of guys swear by silly putty, and they're scared to use the tape or just don't like using it. I prefer tape, but there's something like this where I wasn't sure if the clear coat was 100% cured. I knew silly putty wouldn't hurt it. So that looks good too. I think my eyes look alright. You know, I'm not good at painting eyes. So I think they're pretty good considering. But that orange, fiery orange, looks really good against the blue. My reference drawing, they're green. But I wanted to do something a little more contrasty. So let's go. Let's put the tongue in. Yeah, that's pretty sharp looking, I think. So also the back part of the serpent, I've satin coated the top of it. I'm gonna let that dry for a little bit longer. Then all I gotta do is paint the underside, and then the dragon's done. He looks really, really good. The sea serpent, whatever you want to call him. So what I'm gonna do now, I'll just do this off camera. I'm gonna go in with the fine line of flat black and just outline these eyes real quick, just to clean up this edge a little bit. I got a little bit of silly putty still there. Clean that up. And I'm still trying to upload the last video of what was it? What did I paint last? The crab and the seahorse? Yeah, the crab and the seahorse. I've got like 2.5 hours of video, but there's an error somewhere that the rendering keeps failing, so I gotta figure out where that is. Alright. Just trying to get any loose silly putty or any loose paint around from the edges here, and I'm gonna just go in there with some black and outline those, and it'll separate them pretty well. Yeah, looking good. So again, I'm not going to show painting the back part of the dragon. It's just too hard to handle. It's really a nightmare to deal with. Initially I was going to try to find a way to kind of mount it like I did the head, but it's easier for me to just kind of paint one half, then flip it over and paint the other half. So when I come back, I'll show you what the back looks like when it's done. But again, everything's the same on it except for the belly side, which I'm going to do here in a minute. Got a little bit of loose paint here that's not coming off and it's bugging me. Just going to use the back side of an X-Acto blade. Scrape it off. There we go. Sometimes you get some very thin silly putty underneath the edge of the paint and it doesn't want to release itself. Let's scrape it away. Alright, so when I'm done with the back, I'll come back and we'll show that and then the dragon will be done. Alright, so we finished up the head yesterday. It looks really good. I've got a lot of really good responses from the photos I posted on Facebook, so makes me feel better when after I post and people like it, because you work on something for so long, you like it. Does this look good? So it's reassuring when other people think it looks good. So this is the spine of the, it's a Leviathan. I keep calling it the sea serpent, but really it's really called a Leviathan. So here it is. I didn't show any processes on this yesterday, but it was the same process as on the head. And this just has the blue and the gold or bronze kind of color going on. So just quickly, I'll just explain what I did. I base coated in that same gunmetal metallic blue. Then I did that gold in these areas. Then I went in with that sepia ink and did some shading and toned it down a little bit. After I got all that done, I touched up the blue with a brush along all the edges, sealed it really well, let it dry for a few hours, and then I went in with that midnight blue Badger ghost tints, and I did some additional shading along the edges here on these little fins. I kind of went and shaded all the little bumps a little bit. It's very subtle, and then I just kind of added some just random modeling on this thing, because there's no like muscle definition, at least on the top part. On the bottom part there's some wrinkles, like where the skin would kind of bunch up from bending. So I just kind of did some random modeling on both sides, and then I went in and just did that, and then I added a little bit of green to the tops of these. It's very subtle, but I wanted to put just a little touch of green on the back, but not too much. And I think this looks really good. And then I sealed it again really well. This is Krylon satin, so I did a satin finish just to kind of give it a little different sheen from the other animals. And also I think it fits this particular creature really well. So like right now the shading isn't showing up too much because my highlights are really harsh and it's really reflective. But depending on how you look in person, it looks amazing. The shading looks really good. So it'll show up more in person than it will in like photos. And anytime you have a glossy surface or, you know, semi-gloss or anything like that, the shading is not as noticeable in photographs just because the lights are bouncing off everything. So now I got to do the bottom part, and I'll try to do some of this on camera, but again, it's very tricky. I have to work with this in my lap. So I did the top side is all done. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to paint the bottom side and do some shading and then seal it. And I got to find a way to support this upside down without breaking the fins while it dries. So that's the tricky part with this, is just handling it. Another thing that's kind of interesting to notice here is that you see all this kind of loose stuff? Well, that's the factory going in there and fixing the gaps from this piece. So when they first did this, they put the head on and saw the gaps. They filled it with putty and kind of filled in the gaps, which is kind of nice. So you can see here that they did putty work to get it to fit better. So that's kind of cool. It saves me from having to do it. So for the bottom part, my reference illustration that I've been using, and I have to say that I'm pretty close on the top part to what I have. Let me pull it up here. Where is it? Is it here? Yeah, this guy. So I'm pulling it up. Nope, that's not it. That's the wrong one. This guy. Okay, so this was my reference. Now I'm a little bluer and not so green, but the bottom side is kind of just gray with maybe a little bit of, that's pretty much gray. So I'm going to follow the same thing. I'm not going to make it metallic. I think I'm just going to do gray and And maybe I'll hit it with an iridescent on top. We'll see. But for now, I'm just going to base coat it in GarageKits.us. I'm going to do a cool gray instead of warm gray because I want to keep this on the cool tones. I just reorganized all my paints, so I got to find I got to find those paints. Where did I put them? I think, did I put them up here? Oh, they're here. I spent a couple hours reorganizing my paints the other day. I'm going to start with a mid-tone. So I'm going to start with cool gray number 3. And again, I'll show a little bit of this on camera, but more likely I won't be able to show a whole lot because I have to work with this in my lap. And it's more important that I don't break this than it is to show what I'm doing on camera. So, so I'll just kind of, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this cool gray right up to this edge. And what I'll also do to help prevent any overspray onto the other part is I'll just hold up a piece of paper like this and I'll just fan it up. Just clean out my airbrush. So this is kind of a mid-tone gray, and I'll go in and add some shading and stuff. It's actually kind of bright, but it's okay. We're gonna lid. There's my lid. Okay, again, we're just gonna kind of come in here. Once this bottom part's done, all I have left on Aquaman is the base. So we're in the home stretch on this piece. So this is just a little bit lighter than the primer gray, you can see. I'm just going to put it on lightly. It's really easy to try to put this stuff on wet, but you don't want to do that because it just kind of, it just acts fine. It kind of just beads up on the surface. And there's some veining here on the bottom that I'm getting real tight here, and I don't want to get any overspray on the top side. I don't care that this is a soft edge right there, soft transition to the blue. To avoid overspray, kind of come up and shoot up at an angle, so any overspray will go over that lip. I do want to make sure I hide the blue that's down here. So to build this up slowly, this will take a little while. Part of the reason is just that there's a lot of surface area to cover. So I'll do this, and once it's base coated, I'll come back and we'll do some shading. Okay, so we got that base coated in that number 3, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to go in and hit these veins a little bit with, make sure I'm not putting any pressure on those fins. We're going to hit the veins and these little muscle areas with number 7, cool gray number 7, and it's going to darken it down quite a bit, but then we're going to go through and lighten it back up. So number 7 is the darkest tone in the lineup of colors in this set. So we're going to hit the veins first. It's going to look weird at first, but these will all get lightened up here in a little bit. in real tight. I'm using two hands, so I just had my coffee, so my hands are shaky. There's those veins. Flip it over and do these veins. See, I didn't cover up that blue 100%. That's okay. The next color, this color I do will cover most of that up. It's weird that this is the only place in the sculpt there's any veining. There's none on the head. There's none on the top side of this, but maybe because the scales would be too thick to see it on the top side. I don't know. My knowledge of Leviathan anatomy is not very good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, I'll do a little bit on camera. I'll do the rest off. I'm going to go in and start shading. I'm going to add a little shadow up in this area where it transitions. So again, just kind of spray up. And I'm going to take this all the way up to the edge of the blue. So I'm spraying up like this, so that any overspray I got won't hit the top side. If this color hits the top side, it's not that big of a deal because it's pretty dark. Very similar tone in the as the midnight blue ghost tint I was using. So we're gonna hit this pretty hard, so it's a nice shadow. And because of the sculpt, you have to paint in all different directions to get all the sides of the scales. It's a little tricky, especially when it's really hard to handle the piece. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And now I'm gonna back off, and I'm just gonna fade up into that a little bit. And this is all gonna get lightened up here in a little bit. It doesn't be perfect. This is and now we go in here and hit the creases. where the skin's folded on itself. I did the veins first so that when I do this part, they just get a little bit darker, and you'll see them in the shadows. So anywhere I see a fold, I'm just adding a little shadow. Some of the folds don't go all the way around, like that one doesn't. This one kind of comes right here. This is kind of a soft fold right here, so back up, make it a soft transition. This one kind of comes around like this. And when I flip it over, I'll blend all these shadows together in the middle. This one's a pretty tight one, so we're getting closer. Like that. Hit this a little harder again. Coming up from the top now, because I can see where I didn't get the top side of the scale, so. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to hit, not that you're going to see it, but I am going to add, I'm going to darken the area where the head meets. Just going to give that a shadow. I probably won't glue the head on until right before I'm ready to ship this guy, because when the head's on, it's really hard to find a place to lay this thing down. When I first unpacked it, I was trying to find a way to lay the Leviathan down. It was really hard with the head attached. So I'll probably just leave the head off until I won't glue the head on until after I take pictures and I'm ready to pack it up. Because it came packed with the head on. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes and then I'm going to flip it over and I'll do the same thing, and when I'm done with that I'll come back. Okay, so I blended it in, and I think I went a little too far, so I'm going to go back in with number 6. Let's see if this is just one shade. That's where it's not much darker than that. That's 5, 6. Oh, that's number 4. I think I'm going to kind of do a mix of number 6 and number 7. Pretty big step between the two. So I'm going to waste some paint here, but I need like a tone between those two. And we go back and just kind of hit these shadows again lightly. And then we have to blend it in again. I'm not getting a very good, I think I bent my needle yesterday. I'm not getting a very good atomization of the paint. There we go, that's the tone I want. Actually, just like a hair too light. I'm just going to go back and forth till I get the look I want. But that's getting closer to what I want. Ah, poop. That was dumb. I just spattered paint all over it. So now I gotta go back and base coat this area again and start from scratch. Yay for me. So I'm gonna do this. Let's see if I can just make that work. I don't know. That was dumb. I just spattered paint everywhere. See if we can hide this major malfunction. Let's go back and highlight those spots. Alright, so I'm going to continue doing this, just kind of going back and forth until I get the look I want. Got to fix that area that I just screwed up because I did something dumb, which happens quite a bit. I think what I may do is do this and add a really bright highlight to the folds and then blend. Probably should have done that the first time. Alright, so I'm going to continue doing this, and when I'm done I'll come back. Okay, so I finally got the look I wanted. What I ended up doing is just going back in with Cool Gray number 2 and adding a highlight to it. And that's all. That's really got me right where I wanted to. I went ahead and hit the veins again because I kind of lost it earlier, and I just went back with the that custom mix color that I had of number 7 and number 6. I just hit the veins again real lightly. Now I think I'm going to do before I seal this, as I think I might put one of these pearlescents on it. So let me see what I got. Not pearlescent, an iridescent. From garagekits.us. Get this out of the way. Not purple, not gold, maybe blue, and maybe some green. So let's see what the blue does. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna test a little spot down here where you don't see it. Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of this blue. Actually, what I'm going to do first, I thought about going in here with the midnight blue. I think I'm good because it's got a blue tinge to it. I thought about going with the midnight blue and adding some more shading, but I think we're good. Okay, so this is the iridescent blue. And this is going to give it a little bit of a shimmer. Not crazy metallic looking, just a little shimmer, and it's not going to change the color. It may add a little bit of blue, but that's it. And I'm going to go over this with green too. You probably not seeing anything in camera, but got a little bit of a pearl look to it. It's really nice. Alright, we'll let this dry. I'm going to do the other side. Actually, while I got it here, let's do the green too. Green. And I'll just see what the green does. I'm going to test this spot right here. Actually, my green is clogged, so I may not be doing green. Let's see here. Put the lid on, you idiot. Let's see if we get the green to work. My green just maybe, yeah, it's like all coagulated in the bottle, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to clean out my airbrush. And that's all clogged up. Let's do the blue. Even the blue's a little clogged. It happens, you don't use the paint for a long time. Alrighty, there we go. Oh, the blue's kind of coming out. I don't think I was getting much of the iridescent part, I was just getting the carrier. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to let this dry, flip it, and then I'm going to seal it. And then this should be done. But that looks good. Alright, so I gotta let this dry for a little bit because I put a lot on. I'll flip it, do the same thing. I'm gonna seal it and see what it looks like. Okay, well, it's really shitty lighting, but because I've got it over here, I put the Leviathan on the base with Aquaman and the seahorse and everything, and so all that's left to do now is the base, which will be another video, and I have to do that in my garage. But this looks freaking really, really good. Maybe you can get a better sense of the colors here if I come to the side. But yeah, really happy with the color choice. The bronzish kind of goes with him a little bit. I didn't want a green dragon like they did on the production paint because he's got a lot of green on him. But I do have the little hints of green that are really hard to see in this video, but in person you see them on the tips here, and that kind of ties back to Aquaman a little bit, so that's why I did that. And it looks really, really good. Man, this is freaking phenomenal. Really happy with how this looks. So yeah, so I'm gonna I sealed this about an hour ago. It's dry enough to pick up and put on the base. I'm gonna let it dry overnight, and then I gotta take everything off, and I've got to set up a paint spot in my garage to do the base. Oh, the one thing I'm missing off of the base is the Marlin. I'm so paranoid I'm gonna break his nose, so whenever I move around this thing, I take him off the base just to be safe. Yeah, so just really crappy lighting because it's over here in the corner of my workspace. This is kind of where I've been staging him. But you get a sense of what this is looking like, and he's looking really sharp. So hopefully this video will be easier to upload than the one I'm trying to upload with the seahorse and crab. But there's a good look at the seahorse. Looks really good. It's looking a little flat in this video, but that's because I got my exposure bumped up quite a bit, and I got a high ISO setting right now. Shark looks really awesome, so man, I'm super happy with all the creatures. Couldn't be happier. Super stoked to get this finished and final pics, and stay tuned for the next video, which will be the base. Thanks for watching.